first water video, we talked about the necessity of storing as much water as you physically can. Well, what happens when you run out, whether you're staying in or whether you're on the go? One of the things you'll want to do is be able to have clean water, and the sources that you come upon may not have fresh, clean, healthy, and actually drinkable water. Some may look clean, but some may look incredibly disgusting. And is there a way to make it drinkable? Yes, there is. And we're going to talk briefly about 4 different ways that you can do that. One would be filter the water, sanitize the water. Another is pasteurization, and another one is distillation. And we'll just give you a brief little outline on those different things. Different applications done a little bit differently. But if you know how to do any of these 4 things, you should be able to find and make clean and drinkable water for you and your family. First of all, I want to introduce you to my best friends. These are my Berkeys. This is a travel size. This is a little bit bigger, but if you've got a large crowd of people, you want to be able to filter water at high velocity. These have the capacity, this little travel one, of putting 2 different filters in there. I'm not sure if you can see that little dark one there. I'll show you what it looks like. This is the filter, and it filters a high percentage of anything that is dangerous. There are different things that you can add to the Berkeys, and one of them is this additional one that goes down below, and it actually can filter out fluoride and lots of other things. And this just actually goes right on this. But here's the significant thing that I want to mention, and it doesn't matter what brand you go to, and I'm not trying to push any particular brand. I am showing you some of my favorites. This filter does need to be primed. So how do you prime that? That has a little rubber stopper that you push up against a faucet and you turn on the water high velocity. It shoots water down the opposite direction of filtration, and it starts to sweat out on the outside. There's all these little micro dust fibers that start coming out, dark colored, pretty disgusting. In the filter, in the fluoride, it was pure white that was coming out. So because these are brand new, don't think you can just tuck them away and use them. One of the things I found that if this needs to be primed and I'm out in the woods, I want to make sure I have something that I can use. And this is what I came up with, and I hope you'll enjoy this. I put in here water and like an old ketchup bottle. This way I can fill it with clean water. When I'm out in the field, I can force water through this so that it starts to sweat again, and I have primed my filter and I'm ready for filtration. So this is one version of filtration, probably a little expensive, but well worth the money. Okay, you saw the expensive version of filtration. Now I'm going to give you an economical way to do high capacity amounts of water in an economical way. And I'll give you the YouTube video that a friend put together of how to build these yourself. These are 5-gallon buckets, and then holes are drilled here to accommodate the filters. There's one filter put on this side and another filter on the other side. The first thing you do, though, is pour your water through a mesh bag that will filter out any impurities, any pieces of leaves, etc. And then it will go into the ceramic filter. This has a little cover in it. And of course, this is screwed in down in here, and then this water is extracted. In this one over here, this is a different filter, and this one will purify and take out a different particulate out of it. And so between the 2 of these buckets, you should be able to have probably some of the cleanest water that you can physically make for less than $100. I've also included in my camping supplies this gravity bag that has the filtration inside. The filter's here. This is hung over a tree, and then it goes down in your 5-gallon bucket or your container or whatever it is you're doing. So you have a chance to filter some water that way. Now let's talk a little bit about portability. Survival kits, you need something to go with you. Every one of mine have these little straws. It has a way to draw it up, and you would suck up the water. There is a filter in between, and this does a large percent. It isn't as effective as the ones that I've shown you before, but in a pinch you would be able to drink the water. it also has an additional filter with it. So I really like these, and every single one of the survival or 72 hour, whatever you want to call them, has one of these. Another thing that we all have is the sanitizing tablets. These are ones that you would place in the water, wait 30 minutes, and obviously keep all the sediments in the bottom, and then draw off the water, and you should be able to drink it, and it's like 98% of what it will kill off. So this is another thing that's critical for your survival. Another thing that I really like is the pasteurization. They're called a WAPI, water pasteurization indicator. And what that has, if you can see, has a little teeny vial with a little bit of wax up there. Now once that goes into the water and the water is heated to 149 degrees Fahrenheit, the wax in here will actually melt and hit the bottom. When it hits, then you know that your water's been pasteurized and it is safe to drink. Now the nice thing about using one of these is pasteurization happens before the boiling point does. Now that's critical for a time crunch, but also when you're thinking about saving fuel, you want to be able to use this and say, okay, the water's now safe, turn off the fuel, and let's reserve what we have. My son Xander is going to show you our very favorite portable water filtration system. This is one that we have in our 72-hour kits. This is a really light one by Catadyne. There's lots of different models and styles. This one we particularly like. You literally clip the bottom in, and then there's a hose that goes on the very top. The one at the very bottom goes into the water source, and there's actually a little float that helps you determine the depth of the little intake bobbin so that you don't drag on the bottom of the water source. One goes inside, the other one goes into your water bottle or into your water bladder, and then you just literally start to pump, and the water goes from the water source, purified through the filter, and goes through there. One thing we did find out was that, as with many of the other filters, you did have to pre-clean it. Don't just put these in your 72-hour kits without actually looking at them. When we ran water through the filter, it was a soapy white residue for about 2 or 3 water bottles full. So that is a nifty portable water filter. So one of the questions I've been asked is, can you drink pool water, whether it is salinization or chlorination? And the jury is really out, because besides those chemicals, there's anti-allergens and lots of different things in there that have to do with cleaning out urine and feces from the water. And especially if it doesn't have a filtration system that is active and agitating the water, then there's a lot of things that have already started to grow in that body of water. But one of the things you can do is distill the water. And if you're a moonshiner, you already know what to do. So pull out that moonshine stuff. I did find a YouTube video that had some of these inexpensive plumbing parts, and we did try it, and it did work. And all you do is you hook this to your teapot. If you don't have a teapot in your preparedness things, you make sure you grab one. And I bought 2 different kinds. But you put this over the pot, and then of course it goes down in here. And the theory is that as the steam rises and it cools, it comes down here, and then this is your purified water. It takes a long time to get a lot of purified water. Actually needs to be a longer loop and maybe a little bit higher, but it did actually work. I did buy a different kind of teapot also, and this is one that if you're going to have a fire anyway, you might as well utilize a corner of it, wedge this in, and you can distill some water. So that's one way that you can use pool water. You can also use that for flushing toilets. But here's one of my favorite things. You could build a solar distillation pit, and you'll see here a diagram. You dig a hole in the ground, and then you stretch a piece of tarp across it. Make sure that it's kind of tight with dirt and rocks at the top, but it slopes down the middle. Put a rock in there so that the wind doesn't blow it and it flaps. But as the heat from the sun heats up that area, and you have like a tin can or a bucket down in the bottom of it, it'll have a chance to run down the plastic and fall into your water. Now, whether or not that's pool water that you are feeding into that pit, or whether that's just Mother Nature's water, it works a lot better too if you put leaves in there. you should be able to get some good drinking water just out of a solar pit. Okay, so that's a quick snapshot on cleansing water. But just remember, whether you're going to buy an expensive filtration system that's already put together, whether you're going to make one out of 5-gallon buckets, whether you have small ones, portable ones that you have in your survival kits, get out the instructions, look to see whether you need to prime and cleanse those filters prior to the first use. You want to do that now before you have to utilize them for real. But just remember, you can filter, you can sanitize, you can pasteurize, and you can distill. And you can do all 4 of them, which gives us a lot of options on cleansing our water. I don't know about you, but talking about water sure made me thirsty. I'm going to go pour me a glass. We'll see you next video.